Hey there, everybody. How's it going?
My name's Tim.
My name's Michael.
And this is TMI.
That's a Tim and Michael information show.
So what are we talking about today, Michael?
Today we are talking about the first draft, the second draft, the third draft.
It's interesting to note that this is actually the second time we're doing this introduction.
Sometimes, and we'll explain about that.
Right.
What happens when you have a piece that you're really, really proud of, and somebody says, you should do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, but I spent so much time on this. Oh
You're
my
just
God.
done with it. You've stayed up all night on it. You've put a month of work into it, and you've spent. I'm sure you've had this. Where you spend the last week thinking, "I'm going to finish this and be done," and that's it.
A lot of the times, less and less with drawing these days, but more with writing is actually where that
Really?
happens with me. I will write something and I will be done with it, and I said that is. When I first started, I would just be happy that I finished something. But sometimes you got to go back to it and not be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, nowadays, I'm not so afraid of the rewrite. I'm actually going to take that back and say it happens
for you.
with drawing more days. Maybe because I've been drawing more. And I'm surrounded by people that are far more talented than I am.
And you have to push yourself.
Yes, so a special shout out to Elora, by
Hello.
the way, who gives some of the best feedback you'll ever get. But I don't think I've ever heard anybody else say that you should do it more.
Mm-hmm.
And you gotta be more right. So what do you do when that happens? When someone tells you you've got to do it again? Do you have some visual aids for us that you could maybe show us?
I do, yes.
This happened. This happened, and we talked about it a little bit before in the fail episode.
We did. Well, we saw this piece in the fail episode. So in case you didn't see the fail episode, you want to take that?
Yeah,
and I'll just talk about it. This is my banner right here. So this is a piece that I spent pretty much all of spring semester working on. And I think around April, I had my train design done. It wasn't this design. It was actually from a different perspective. And I was building a scene around it. And about halfway through just penciling in the scene, Michael comes in and says, "If I may," and if you saw the last episode, you know that's not, it's like the worst thing you can say. But he said, you're having this problem with the composition, that you're flattening your perspective by putting the vanishing point back there. You should move it off frame. Now I had like a month left to sketch out my environment and then charcoal it, which is why I didn't get to push it as much as I would have liked to. But I had to redo it. Michael was right. The composition was not working.
So show me your the tracing papers
Oh
that you
boy!
have.
Well, you're gonna have to talk for a minute because I got to dig it all out.
So what we're actually going to show you while we're talking a little bit about materials, tracing paper or vellum paper is just any paper that's really nice. You can kind of lay it on top of your white or just lay it on top of more tracing paper, and you can kind of see what you've done before, and again trace over it just so you can actually. And while you're looking for that,
Well, I'm finding all of it. Yes,
finding all of it.
Well,
you're fast.
And this is the reason I wanted to bring this out. Is I don't know if Michael realizes this, but excuse me, we're gonna redo that. Cut. Michael obviously told me, "Hey, redo your composition because of this." But what he doesn't realize is, even when I had that second composition mostly established, there's still a lot of redraft
Oh, hey.
for my own personal perfection. Where were we? While I keep digging this out.
Well, also, while you're digging that out, I'll show you a little something that I have.
Yeah.
So I've been designing pirate outfits for friends, just because we can. And by the way, did you hear Pirates 5's pushback?
Oh, I
Yeah.
have no problem with that. What
That's-
about Jurassic Park? We're doing it before.
Is that happening now?
Yeah.
So
Just announced it.
as we were talking, my sister and I, hello, and we just I took out a bunch of things and I showed her. Now there's this, and I don't know if you can see that.
Nice and close.
There we are. Now, I mean, this was okay, but it wasn't her. It wasn't exactly, what it did. And then I just kept doing it more, and I have all sorts of tracing paper here. But until I eventually came up with, and I really liked the way that other one looked. I really liked how clean. And I said, gosh, I kind of want to use it, but that wasn't it. I did a couple more, and Now, this isn't as quite period accurate or anything. It's more fun, but that was it for her, which eventually, gave me this. And if I would have went down that other direction, then you won't be able to see it. And I don't know if we're able to throw things up on the screen.
Well, yeah, here we can do that. What do you want to throw up?
The finished piece.
There we go.
Oh my goodness.
Doesn't look great.
You are way too good at that.
I'll teach you.
But thanks. But that piece would not have come if it weren't for me saying, well, let me try something else. Let me try something else. So speaking of your something else.
All right. So we talked about redos. This is how much paper I went through to get to. Well, you saw it earlier. It's way back there. But all that. Here's the. There is the final train, and there is the. Why don't you take that, Seth?
Yeah.
I'm not going to show all of this, but I do want to show these top two. You saw the finished train, and then here we have, of course, the environment. Now you'll notice that this is a very, very perspective-heavy piece. You have all of those lines up on the ceiling, the lines down on the floor, and it's not easy to get, especially when your vanishing point is not off the page.
Yeah.
Or not on the page, I'm sorry.
And if I may make an observation here, this is all from the second piece, isn't it?
Most of it is. There's probably a little bit of the first piece in there.
So not only did I walk in and destroy Tim's world by telling him that the vanishing point wasn't working, and not only did I see him grit his teeth when he was thinking, "Gosh, I've done so much work on this train," but as much as you did all of this, you did all of this for the second one.
Right.
Talk about taking that second draft and kicking it in the butt.
And by the way, you don't actually have to do this much work to get this. I did this much because it took me this many sheets of paper to get the perspective right.
3, 4, 5. And not that I'm counting, but anything like this has got to be at least 50 sheets.
Yeah.
Dude, you're amazing.
There are trees crying somewhere.
But I'll get that back to you. But that's a good point to make, because sometimes you don't know how many it'll do. Sometimes you're fine with getting through the first one. Sometimes you're happy doing a second one. Phil will tell you, do it again. Do 20. Heck, do what Phil also says the difference between students and professionals is student will do the assignment. Professionals will keep working. And somebody else asked us in Marshall's class last Saturday. What did they ask? How many are we expected?
I think I asked that.
You
yeah. Well, I was trying to kind of peg this. I'm like, Marshall, if I really want to get something out of this class, how much at least should I be doing of the homework? Because it's kind of free assignment. You do as much or as little as you want.
Now, when you asked that question, Marshall just had this face. We could see the smile.
Just like that.
Because how many students have probably asked him that, and how many times have we heard that in class? How many should I do? But then for a couple of us that get it, not saying you don't, it was an honest question. I forgot who else said it, because I said as many as you want, and that was mine. But somebody else in class said, how good do you want to get?
Right.
And I was like, that is the answer. That is the correct answer.
And of course, Marshall responded to me with one of his, with the Marshallism. He said, well, it's like asking, how much should I eat? Well, how hungry are you?
Mm-hmm.
And, the amount of homework everybody has to do in our anatomy class, or should do, really just depends on where they're at. People like Michael, who have been doing anatomy for a long time, will probably, do a little bit and get quite a bit out of it, and I'll maybe have to struggle with it a bit more, though I'm finding I'm actually picking it up quite nicely because of the boxes and perspective, and fortunately the assignments cater to what I'm already good at, perspective.
Anthony Hopkins reads a script like 200 times or something.
Really?
Before, and he says there's nothing significant to the number, it's just something he does 200 times, he just reads it through, and he says, because everything that you need to know is in the script. And so you read it until you know it. I tried it one time. I get to about 20, and that's when I'm sick of it at 10.
And usually,
but for me, 20 is my limit. Is because I push through 20, and not just your lines. I mean, everyone's just reading the entire thing. But yeah, how hungry are you? So we keep going into this whole thing and Phil's thing about drawing mileage. The more you do anything, the better you are going to get. And so when you're thinking about all of these redrafts and everything, don't be afraid, see what happens. You might be happy with one, but I'm going to say, let's have us challenge you,
sure,
to do it 10 more times.
At least 10.
How many more that you feel you can do? Because there is a point where maybe you feel like, I just don't want to do this, and that's okay. That is not a way to create.
Right.
Like this, they're making me do this. Nobody should make you do anything. But at the same time, there's that fine line between making you do something and you having to want to be able to say, I should be able to do more, or I would like to produce more work. So don't be afraid of that.
Right. I think a good way to cap this off is you mentioned Allura at the beginning of the show, and we'll come back around to Allura. Because she's responsible for another redo story of my own where, gosh, I had done this probe. Let's put that up on the screen. This is the final product.
Wow.
But the original looked, a little more like this. And I showed it to her and some other classmates at a thing Michael was doing, and Laura's like, well, I don't really know how this is supposed to work, or what's the front or what's the back, and I'm doing that whole thing we talked about in the last show where I'm just wilting. I'm like, oh my gosh, I spent hours on this, and she said, you should do hundreds of drawings in order to make this good, and I'm like, oh, all right, I'll go do my hundreds of drawings, and 100 drawings later, at least, I had the final, like you just saw. And, it looks a lot better, and it works a lot better, and it makes a lot more sense. So, yes, do a redraft, because you will get your perspective better, and your lines will get better, and your composition will get better and stronger. And, again, do a redraft, because sometimes when you're doing a brand new concept, that helps you get new ideas out.
Yeah, don't be afraid. I just went back to a script. I hadn't touched it. I wrote it in a year. I wrote it in 10 minutes. It was one of the easy ones. And, not 10 minutes. But then I came back to it a year later. It was so much fun going back to that thing and actually changing and fixing. I think with writing more nowadays, I'm like, I love going back and making it right. I love going back and actually fixing it.
And you know what? When I did this, or rather when I did the final, I was really frustrated and just wanted to get it done. But, kind of looking at this, I want to do that again. I want to go through and really push that charcoal and make it even more finely rendered. So
and that's a thing that I've been seeing a lot too. The draw this again meme. That's we should each do something.
Yeah.
And make an episode out of that.
That'd be fun.
So thanks again for tuning in. If you have any questions,
check out our email address. It's right there.
Thanks. And maybe we will answer a question of yours on a future show, or just make a whole show out of it. So until then, thank you for bearing with our second draft of the attempt of this one. I think this one went much better.
I actually had my materials for this one. So. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and we'll see you next week.